Welcome to Focus Heavenward Ministries. It has been a long few months with many unexpected twists and turns. It seems almost every plan I made was interrupted with difficulties. You know, when you think you're on top of things and seemingly have prepared for events so that they go as smooth as possible, then absolutely nothing happens the way you thought. It all began with a fall, which resulted in a surgical shoulder repair, which was much tougher than I anticipated. Then, just as improvement was becoming noticeable, the flu hit our home with every imaginable symptom, and it circled around more than once. This resulted in canceling just about every Christmas celebration we had planned, including flying to the East Coast to spend time with our grandchildren who live there. Then, as the flu subsided, COVID showed its face and landed on us hard. I distinctly remember thinking at this point, why now, when we had avoided COVID for the last 3 years? Well, in order to try and stay positive, I heard myself say more than once, man makes plans, but God directs his steps. This was to remind myself that God was indeed in control and that his plan was best, even though we were disappointed. So I thought it fitting to take some time and look a bit closer at Proverbs 16:9. It says, "The mind of man plans his way, but the Lord directs his steps." How often have you made decisions according to what you think is best? Certainly, we all do this because goals and plans are important if we are to accomplish anything. But my plans, especially if made in haste, do not always take account of all possibilities. I do not know the future, and there are times when I am even unable to understand the past. Probably, there is no huge lasting effect if I choose to have rice or pasta for dinner, but many decisions I do make have consequences, either positive or negative, and sometimes my plans are neither right nor wrong, they're just not what fits perfectly into God's direction for my life at that particular time. So let's look at the word man. Since Proverbs 69 speaks of man, Proverbs 16:9, excuse me, it is translated from the Hebrew word for Adam, meaning a human being, a common sort, of low degree. Now, this definition is not too encouraging, yet, when you consider our need, it is a fair description. Now let's add to this the meaning of the mind of man, or in the King James Version it reads, a man's heart. The word heart is used very widely for the feelings, the will, and even the intellect. It is the center of our thinking or understanding. What does the Bible say about man? We could fill pages with the answer to this question, but basically, we are insignificant. Job 4:19 reads, "How much more those who dwell in houses of clay, whose foundation is in the dust, who are crushed before the moth." Man is likened to a worm in the book of Psalms. Psalm 22:6 reads, "But I am a worm and not a man, a reproach of men and despised by the people." When compared to God, we are grasshoppers. We're meaningless. Isaiah chapter 40, verses 22 through 23 reads, "It is he who sits above the vault of the earth, and its inhabitants are like grasshoppers. Who stretches out the heavens like a curtain and spreads them out like a tent to dwell in? He it is who reduces rulers to nothing, who makes the judges of the earth meaningless. We could go on and on about man. We are frail, we are fleeting, we are limited, and we are sinful. Yet, it is our very weakness that draws us to God. We need His guidance and care. The love of God extends itself into our very creation. We were made in His image and bought with a price for His glory. Genesis 1:27 says, "And God created man in His own image. In the image of God He created him. Male and female He created them." And then in 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 20, we read, "For you have been bought with a price. Therefore glorify God in your body." So we make our plans, but God, because He loves us, because He knows the best direction for our lives, guides our steps. He has an established plan for His children. What is our responsibility? We seek to follow God as He directs us. We learn to make our plans, but then we hold them loosely for His accounting. James 4, verses 14 through 15 says, "Yet you do not know what your life will be like tomorrow. You are just a vapor that appears for a little while and then vanishes away. Instead, you ought to say, 'If the Lord wills, we shall live, and also do this or that.'" We constantly come before God, asking Him to guide us. Psalm 37:23 says, "The steps of a man are established by the Lord, and He delights in His way." The King James Version of this verse actually reads, "The steps of a good man," meaning one who is faithful. When we seek to be faithful to God's truths, He will delight or take pleasure in us. I may not always understand God's direction, but I can trust in His perfect plan. I think for myself, as I look closely at these scriptures, I need to be honest and ask the question, do I really want God's intervention all the time? I want to answer with a resounding yes, which comes from a genuine heart of desiring God in all things, even more than seeing my grandchildren during their Christmas break. But this requires a total surrender of self and willing subjection to our Almighty God. So my prayer is that God will continue to work on my feeble heart as I seek to follow Him and trust Him in every area of my life. I pray He will make me wise as I try to apply His counsel to my plans, and that He will increase my trust when He allows a different direction to unfold. Focus heavenward until we meet again.